testing. Hello, hello, testing. Hello, testing. Okay, cool. This is Matt Brown. He's pretty cool. Actually, I've always, not always, but I've grown to assume this in the logical sense that under the current conditions, the West and the East are not very nice with each other. I mean, the people are fine, right? The people are fine. They're still traveling, enjoying vacations and all that jazz, but the government's not so good. No, no. We've got the eastern side of the world competing with bricks, with hoarding of gold, attempting to potentially economically sabotage the West, and the West hoarding all of its possible equity plus. I mean, in the general sense, what the heck? No, not right now. Why are you always calling me when I'm on stream? Um, the West is trying to preserve what it has, and under capitalistic natures, the only way to preserve a overall dominance, unfortunately, is like a monopolistic system. So we're seeing a lot of corporations as like the Nvidias and all of them. They are just hoarding all of the AI concepts, hardware, mining picks, if you will, and they are now also hoarding the RAM. So there's like a weird progressive hoarding of something. There was a case where the US was um, not letting China, for instance, have specific chips, but because you can't trust corporations, those Chinese will still get those chips. And even not even that, even the best case scenario is that they even found a more effective way to use AI without the extensive hardware. So there's a weird war going on underneath the veil of your general consumeristic life, the East versus West. But then I think in one of my previous streams on some other day last week, I went over something about what I was keeping track of, and that was this just weird networking activity, weird botnets all over the internet back in 2024 before the Boston Bridge. Was it Boston Bridge? It was some bridge that had a literally a ship just get hijacked by possible code and just went into a bridge. The ship crashed into a bridge, which looked like it was a case for, well, hacking automations on that ship. So I've been long suspicious of technology. I only own 2015 to 2020-esque level tech. I wouldn't buy anything new. I wouldn't buy any cameras from, let's say, Temu. I wouldn't buy any Chinese products from Temu. There's a reason why things are cheap, guys. Like, there's a reason why they're trying to get you to buy stuff. So, yeah. So this is uh Matt Brown. He's a hardware nerd. Love this guy. He actually takes a huge deep dive in one of these Chinese products. And it's very interesting. We're going to kind of go through pretty quick because I wanted to go into the software aspect. I wanted to do a little research on what he found as far as this super box. It's communicating online. It has specific IP addresses that it beacons back home to. And I wanted to see what those geographical locations might be. I wanted to see what we can find within those domains, if they had any special DNS configurations that prompted them a whole new net section that we're not aware of on the main net. For those that don't know, the DNS is essentially just like a map. It's a map for your computer to know where it's going on the internet. YouTube.com is like on every single DNS server because everyone goes to YouTube.com except China. China DNS does not have YouTube or Google for that matter or anything outside of their communistic allowed system. So a DNS is a map, and if it's not available on that map, you can't access it through your computer. A DNS realistically is a server spread out region by region. Every country will have maybe a couple of servers. Is it like backups as well, of course, because if one DNS goes down, you can't have a whole country not being able to access the internet. And by proxy, a server is just a computer, right? Think of it as a very powerful computer that serves to pass traffic. That's it, right? So if you play any video games, a server would be when you're hosting a game on your computer and your friends connect to you. And if you've had issues with a firewall, oh, you can't connect because there's an issue with connections, it's probably because the firewall is preventing that particular connection. But these DNS servers are connected region to region to provide a type of global map of your network. So what we're going to do, not only am I going to go through a lot of detail when it comes to like terminal usage, hardware usage. I'm not huge on hardware. Like I'm not going to be able to really describe all the details in hardware, but I've played around with some hardware like stuff. I've got some projects hanging around here. Um, with my little flipper. Hold on. Hold on. Have you seen the flipper? My little baby boy over here. No, not you, kitty. Not you, kitty. Not you. I got a dolphin. I got a cat and a dolphin. And I got a rabbit. I got all kind of animals up in this house. Hold on. So this is a prime example of a device. He's a dolphin. Oh, he can't see him because it's blurry. Anyway, this is a device that can connect directly to hardware. These are pins. These pins have specific reasons to be used. A few of those main purpose pins are the TX, RX, the VC power, and the ground. This is a way that I can connect my little flipper here to essentially any board that has these pins. Now, in his case, he's going to go over this too. So we're going to kind of skip around a bit, but I want to show you the specifics and teach you a little bit about hardware, software, and networking. And this is what the video is going to conclude with, right? We're going to go through and see where these IP addresses are. I'm going to keep track of them. He doesn't go through full detail on those IPs, although he's trying to track them in some of these videos, but I'm going to try and go through as many um, as many IP addresses that I find from his video, and really try to pinpoint what's going on in this chaos that is the well, global cyber war going on.
Looking at
Nobody.
Superbox,
Not right
this
now.
is an
We're doing
Android
stuff right
set-top
now.
box that
Busy, busy,
promises
busy.
free TV shows and movies. All you have to do is download and install the custom Chinese App Store, and you get your content. Does that sound too good to be true? Well, we're going to find out today
Anything
what
too good to be
happens to
true is
this
a scam.
device. I have no clue what's going to happen in this video. We are going to connect it for the first time to the internet. I have before, in previous videos, taken this apart on the desk, gotten root access to the device, but that was all with it disconnected from the network. To out to Matt Brown,
Is this the one?
and we're going to use that today.
Okay, there it is.
And then last time we talked a little bit about this set of a custom app store. Potentially it will
That's the sketchy
automatically
part.
install once we are connected to the internet. Last time, as I mentioned, I did not have this Ethernet
Custom
cord
applications,
connected,
not
and so it had
so
no internet access, and so it was not able to install that app store. But we're going to attempt to do that today. And then there's some manual instructions and a
not
URL
so
that I've censored out
trustworthy.
here. And if I really have to today, I'll rip that off and talk for it. You'll know that I have this free tool called Man-in-the-Middle Router. This is a kind of duct taping together of a couple different common Linux utilities to create a testing network. So I've made some updates to that locally. I haven't pushed those to my repository, but today I am going to be using this system with a slight change. Because of the sketchy nature of these operations, I've added some firewall rules to make sure that the traffic can only go out to the internet, and it's not going to go out to my internet. What I've done locally, again, is I've changed this WAN interface to a tunnel interface that is connected to a VPN, again, so all of the weird, sketchy traffic is going to be traced back to a VPN server and not to me, and it's just going to be one extra layer of protection. Not bulletproof, but we've got other measures in place to protect us. So, and then we're just gonna power this on, and we're gonna be over here in Wireshark. So we are running Wireshark on that BR0 interface, the common interface that my tool uses to sniff traffic. And I've already set up a firewall rule to try to intercept TLS traffic because here it is right here. So we're running man in the middle proxy, not to be confused with my tool, man in the middle router. Man in the middle proxy is an intercepting proxy, also known as a transparent proxy, that if traffic is routed to it, it will attempt to terminate SSL and kind of do a man in the middle attack and reach inside and see the HTTP contents. So if there's any calls going back to China and it's not doing certificate
China.
verification on the server certificate, then we will be able to reach inside of the traffic contents in this screen. But we're gonna start with Wireshark, and we're going
Wireshark's a
to
great
go
great
ahead and we're
device.
gonna
Great
put the
software.
power on this device.
So first and foremost, Wireshark actually acts as a hardware monitor on the case of like network hardware. So you can see packet by packet what's being transferred on the internet when you're connecting to websites, when you're connecting to any sort of servers. Great, generally speaking, even it's difficult to really get a hang of when you're actually, let's say, if you feel like your device, your computer is hijacked, hacked, you can use Wireshark to kind of keep track of what data goes in and out of your computer. Now, is it going to be easy to find malicious data? Probably not. What you would do is try to find specific ways, and this is knowing a bit of networking protocols, TLS, HTTP, FTP, UDP, all kinds of factors that will be involved in potentially scanning through what Wireshark sees in order to essentially try to see what IP addresses are unknown. You try to disconnect everything else, like turn off all network connections or any devices, applications that are trying that normally use the internet, like your browser, and you just try to isolate that one connection that's trying to constantly ping back the mothership home, right? And then you're able to see what is being sent. Now, you might not be able to decrypt it because it could be encrypted, but if you don't have anything running as far as internet connectivity modules or applications and something is still communicating to the internet, you know something is weird, but you got to consider too the operating system tries to communicate also for updates, all kinds of small pieces. So it's a bit of a advanced place when you're analyzing network traffic, but it's a great tool to really see what's going on your network.
And we'll actually go over did on to
Oh, right. Wait. Well, he's already done this. Okay, I didn't show you what he did. This was actually super cool. He's doing the software part of this. But when I wanted to start it up here, right? I wanted to show you what he actually did to get that terminal. Reversing Superbox Pro. Now, is this the one? He has a really nice setup. I'm so jealous of this setup. I really want that setup. Hacking, there it is. No, that's not the, oh, that's the router. That's hacking a router. Ban IP. Superbox malware with AI Superbox 6 Pro Store. No, that's the actual thing. Superbox. Superbox is this booting? Yeah, there it is. Like, kind of
what's up,
thinking,
everybody. This is Matt Brown with another IoT hacking.
hey, Matt Brown. Kind of thinking on the case of what we have on this flipper, being able to connect wires directly to any chip, any board, any device, hardware device. He has a real nice setup, honestly, because you might not have the pins. Are you dorying over there? We swim. Just keep swimming, swimming. All we gotta do is swim. Um, these pins are connected specifically to whatever. There's a standard. It's called the UART standard, where he's gonna find on this board.
Video today I have in my hands. Yeah, because
Yes, yes, yes.
to Netflix, ESPN,
Is
Hulu,
your okay? So
or
here's the case though. Is your Android TV streaming box part of a botnet? This is kind of what led me to like start thinking about this too, because I don't have any of these, but I know people like are trying to save money somehow. This economy is pretty shit. So people are trying to find any way they can stream, watch movies, entertain themselves without having to fork over another subscription and be able to buy food for the month. So there's a lot of people struggling out there, but the problem is I feel like the East is using that advantage to the West. The West's economy is kind of falling apart. Not that the East is doing great. I'm hearing a lot about China's real estate market not doing so good either, but the key is the East is trying to use this opportunity to provide these free streaming services. So be careful what you download out there. Be careful what device you download out there. Unless you do know a little bit about analyzing what you're looking at, I wouldn't even buy Chinese tech right now. I wouldn't even be buying it in the last 3 years. I personally, again, haven't bought anything new on the tech market for the last maybe 5 or 6 years, right? Except maybe I think I bought this like 3 years ago. But this is completely like just uh, this is like a geek's a digital electronic programmer's Swiss Army knife. How about that? But anything that's supposed to promise you something good in return for free, it's probably hijacked in some way through software, and it might be kind of influencing a lot of network issues that we're having. Dude, relax. I just said swimming with the Dora thing. You're going insane, Mr. Leopard Man. Relax, relax. TV jockey. Okay, anyway. Um, when we're thinking of anything that's cheap and free, we should always think, what is it? Why is it free? It's either that something inside this device is going to be used against us, or there's an incentive for somebody to have you take this device from another region on Earth to your local region. And this big incentive is localization and botnets. You buy a device from China, it's gonna give you free internet, free streaming, free Netflix, whatever, right? One, it's questionable because if your ISP finds that that's streaming without the VPN, you might get in trouble with legal systems. But on the other case scenario, this device is providing you with this free content, and it's also on the back end acting as a surveillance or a access point for someone like me that knows computers to tap into your local network and then go on to the localized network. Let's say you buy it and you're in California, you buy this device from China, this super box for streaming services. And now me selling you this device, you having this device from me in a different region, you setting it up, now I have access to that device because it's already been hijacked, technically. Or potentially not hijacked yet to pass some sort of surveillance in the case of, oh, they're taking it to take a look at it from some other case, like analyzing the software of the device, security wise. And then when you actually plug it in and turn it on, like he said, it's gonna ping back mothership, which would be East somewhere, China probably, and then it'll download that particular app store that lets you stream for free stuff, but also downloads this access point for that person that would be, let's say, me in China, who can now access your device and your local network. Then I can see what devices are connected. I mean, it's not even that hard. Once you're in, like, watch this. Once you're in the local network, let's say my own local network, right? So I'm in my own local network right now. Oh, zoom. Can I zoom? Can I please zoom in? How do I zoom in? Okay, well, it's not going to zoom in. So I do an nmap scan on my local network. 192.168.1 to 255. It's going to start scanning my network. This is all I would have to do, not on my network. Let's imagine I'm connected to your network, and it's going to essentially take a look at every single port or every single IP address in this space, and then it's going to find, hey, I found some ports and I found some machines. Now I can see that there's 1, 2, 3 devices with IP address 101, 102, 102, 103, 108. I do have more than these devices, but generally speaking, these are also Linux machines that are acting and pretending to be something else. It's a case for security. Like the one thing you want to obfuscate if you're a techie is to leave your potential openness to guess. You don't want them to be like, oh, this is totally a Windows machine. It's going to be this the type of stuff. You essentially consider that you're trying to pretend to be something you're not, so that if they're trying to actually hack this device, then they're going to have an issue doing so because they're trying to target the wrong thing. Obfuscation. Anyway, the point is now having that access point directly from China to this California location. Thanks. Yeah, made it to 300. Another student signed up. She was surprised that I was a streamer too, so I was like, "Yay." Some of y'all don't know who I be yet, but one day y'all will know my name. Chris Meow. Actually, that kind of sounds like a cat. Chris Meow? Chris Meow? Anyway, shiny things are distracting me now. So the problem with then buying these cheap Temu, Amazon, Chinese products is that you're giving someone a doorway into your network. Not only that, you're giving them a doorway into your network and then into the local area that is California. A botnet serves to be a zombie device that acts on instruction to maybe do a DDoS attack on a specific server to overwhelm it and then cause issues on that device so that essentially you could take down a server, right? These are the suspicions I have based on these situations. And this is one of those. Is your Android TV streaming box part of a botnet?
Lots of free content. But as you can imagine, that free pirated content comes with strings attached, and
Oh
those
yeah.
strings are usually tied to malware. And Krebs on Security has reported on this system that some security researchers have claimed loads malware and runs a bunch of malicious things on the networks of people that decide to buy these devices. So today,
Super fast.
we're going to do on the channel is we're going to take this device apart over on my workbench. We're going to perform some simple hardware hacking to get root access to the underlying Android system on this device, and that's going to allow us to dump firmware, and in future videos, we're going to analyze some of that firmware to see if we can find some malware on the device.
And this
So,
is his
if you're new
current
here, like
project.
Matt
So
Brown just
he's
said,
currently
I
using
am
and
a pen
working
pen
on
tester,
this
so my job
system.
is to take apart devices like this and find security vulnerabilities. I also like to provide educational content to you, the viewers. So if any of that stuff sounds cool, hit that subscribe button, and let's go over to the
He's got
workbench.
such a
So
good
I've got
setup.
some
I want
tools
that
that I'm showing
hardware
off for the
setup.
first
Look at
time on the
this.
workbench over here. We're going to talk about that in a little
Look
bit.
at
This
this.
bad boy over here. But
Those
the
little
first thing we're going to do
thingies.
is we are going to take
Those little
this
thingies.
bad boy apart here.
Those
So we can
little
see
thingies right down here.
this is kind of your normal Android
These little
set-top box. You
black
got some
lines,
Ethernet,
these little black
HDMI,
wires.
power on the back, some Wi-Fi antennas. I've actually already gone ahead and taken the screws out here, so we're just going to use this this little tool, this little pry tool, to pop open the box.
You're gonna see
Look
how it works.
to
So
do that.
sick.
And there we go. We are in. So on this device, what we're going to do is we're going to look for some common debug ports that we're going to connect up to with all this other gear that we have on the table. I'll introduce that gear later. But first, what I want to do is I want to actually pop this out. Zoom back the camera just a
Don't
little bit.
break it. Don't break it. Don't break it.
Kind of get stuck in there. All right.
Nice.
So there, now we can have access to both sides of the PCB on this device. And what I am looking for today is the UART console. So UART is a asynchronous, it's a two-way communications channel between a debug system. And today, what we're going to use ultimately to connect up to that is this little guy here that's going to connect to our computer, and then the device. And so let's go take a look around.
So on the details of that, a UART, UART. Again, it's four ports. One is basically the RX, which is R for receive, right? TX cross or T for transfer, right? Now, the case for RX and TX is that for one device, if you're receiving, then the cable connected to the RX on, let's say, my flipper should be coming from the TX on the other device. So it should be TX connected to RX. And then if this is the TX, it goes to the other RX. Because in essence, you're creating a dual communication system. You need one device to send, another device to receive. It's not a broadband-based system, it's a single directional signaling system. Um, there's also other factors involved like the baud rate and the some values you have to estimate based on standards. But in the end, those are the two just data points. Like that's really it. You just have a RX for receiving and then a TX for transmitting. And then you would obviously connect transmit to receive and transmit to receive. And then the other one's a a grounding factor. And then the VC, I think it was VC. What is it called? It's called Yeah, 3v3 normally. The 3v3 would be just a 3.3 volt sort of thing. Basically the power, because it doesn't have specifically any power involved in the system. What you actually have is just the ability to send, but no power. So you have a third connection for power, and normally you don't have to. I mean, it depends on the device, really. You may not need to use the VC, but the ground is necessary to maintain that connection and create the circuit.
Found with our microscope, actually. Let's see if we can find what we're looking for. All right.
Zoomed,
So
bro.
as we cruise around the PCB, so I actually went to the correct one, but you find things like this, and this is something that might be the UART connector on our device, but this gives me some reasons to believe that it's not the correct one.
Not in the right order. Normally it's hold on, I want to guess it. It's TX on the end, RX second, VC third, and ground last. Might yeah, it might be yeah. TR what's ground, I think. Let's see what it is on
Because
that. Because I
this
have
gives me more
extra
like
ports on this guy. I have like
as we saw, it just happened
16
to pop over here, and here we see what is most definitely the UART connector, and that's
except
because it is
18,
labeled. Now,
18 ports.
it's not always this nicely
Oh,
labeled.
yeah. Yeah. I got it. T R V and then G. Nice. I remembered. So if it's not labeled, then you kind of have to guess it. But he does some really cool research on how to identify it with a voltage meter if you're not sure which one's which. This one's nicely labeled. And I mean, it is showing it over here on the side, but it's a replication of this being the TX, this is the RX, this is the VT, and this is the ground. The case is, though, they didn't leave any pins to connect to. That's the ultimate issue is you won't always get a nice pin selection here. They might remove the pins after it's set up and you've installed the firmware and stuff. Um, but you could put the pins back on and just a little risky. Or you can have the setup he has, and he
Of a
has some
situation for us. But
sick
here
setup.
we can see that we have
Love his setup.
the TX. So assuming that these are in order here, right here is TX, RX, VCC, and ground. And today we're actually going to go one step further, and we're going to talk about how to detect the signals on these pins if they were not
Yes.
labeled like this.
Tell
So we're
me
going to
again.
take one more advanced step in our process.
Tell
And to do
me.
that, we're going to we're actually going to use a couple tools. So we're going to use my multimeter first, but then we're going to get into our logic analyzer right over here. So first things first, what we're going to do, if I can get this to focus in here, is we're going to turn on the overlay to my multimeter. So now you can see the basic output. So right now I am in continuity mode, and what continuity mode does is it detects when things have a low resistance path, or in other words, are connected. And so we're going to find if things are connected. So the first thing we want to do is find ground, right? So oftentimes shielded components like this are grounded. Those aren't in that case. That's funny. Oh, it's this that's not grounded. Okay, so you can see this USB header and this HDMI header are obviously grounded because those are connected. And then what I would do, again, if these pins were not labeled, is I would go one by one down the line and probe. Nope, 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 and yes. So there we can see that the rightmost pin is ground. Again, it's labeled. We know that. And then what I would do is I would flip my multimeter to DC voltage mode. And now I need to power on the device. So we're going to...
Now this mode here, so for the first mode is to find a connection. It will transmit power from from the red, and if it's connected throughout the board in the system, the um black contact is going to pick it up, and then it'll find a connection, and then you'll be able to basically see that there is some voltage going through or resistance going through. It can measure a resistance, which then basically get like this is physics stuff now. Basically gives you the strong assumption that you do have a connection in between those two points of contact. Here he's going to measure the voltage. Now this is a very interesting one because RX and TX act specifically based on a voltage situation, and this is how you can find out which one's the TX and the RX.
plug into our barrel jack here.
So you just have to have it plugged in because without any, if it's cold, there's no power going through, so there's not going to be anything happening.
And then the device, I'm not giving power to it yet. And now we're going to power up the device. And I'm just going to connect over here just for convenience. And we're going to see the voltage here. Okay, so that voltage. Ooh, and so this is a sign that what you saw right there.
T. Think of T again as transmit, right?
That the voltage is not staying always up at 3 volts. That's a sign that this is most likely the transmit.
The transmit is basically, even if there's nothing connected on the other side, like an actual cable connecting this pin, it's automatically connected to the system. So as voltages passes through as data points, because they're not only just passing through TX, but they're probably passing through a chip over here, like over here in this corner, and going through here, and this and these little chips and resistors and whatnot. There is a circuit that passes through here, and you can detect the actual flow of electrons, right? The actual flow of the voltage. It's like sticking your hand inside of like a sewage pipe. You're gonna feel the it's disgusting. But you're gonna feel the water moving, right? It's not that you're using that sewage pipe, or potentially you open up one of those manholes and you put your hand and you can feel this disgusting sewage pipe. But that's kind of the idea too. Electrons work similar to water. They flow in a direction. So you open up, this is us opening up a manhole in the middle of the street and then throwing our hand in there to feel the river of disgusting sewage. Metaphor. But in the end, you're basically detecting the movement of those electrons, those voltages that are happening within that specific location, which for a transmittive connection, you're expecting it to be alternating up and down. You're expecting it to be different because you could be sending information at one point where it's a high voltage and then you drop it when there's nothing happening, and then up for another high voltage account, then nothing, right? So you're constantly going up and down the voltaging aspect of this. So the idea here is that when you see a alternating voltage, then it's the transmit because it's basically trying to transmit information. High voltage drops when it's nothing happening, up and down, up and down. It's variable. A transmit acts in this way.
Pin. And then we're gonna go one step deeper today and talk about why that is. But if we go down the line here, we're probably going to get a solid, roughly 3.3 volts on that pin.
Nothing happening on the receiving end because it's expecting something to go through. So the receiving end's not going to alternate. It's going to be a clear line. It's going to be constant because it's basically expecting something to come through and it's waiting for that particular value to come through. Now, maybe it has a value because you don't want to basically like go from 0 to 3 whenever you connect it. You don't want the resistance and the current to like go from 0, because why is it 3.27 if there's nothing happening? It's a constant, and you got to consider the technology circuits don't go technically from 0 to 3, or they go from 0 to 1. We know the binary aspect of things. But you're not going to have a board that's delicate and sensitive to these changes. They can tell the difference between 0.001 and zero point 0.1 of a voltage. So it's probably maintaining a 3.27 voltage. So it doesn't drop to 0, or it doesn't start from 0. And let's say you connect an actual device on the RX that transmits at 3 point, what we saw before, 3.3, 2.9, and you're just going from 0 to 3.3 instantly. Over that long period of time, you're basically wearing down the connection because of that huge displacement, that huge difference of 0 to 3, when it's better just to keep it at a constant and then just wait for a response. 3.27. All right, now we're at 3.38. Okay, now we're down at 2.9, like we saw in the transmit. But remember that the transmit is going to be connected to the receiver. The TX is going to be connected to the RX, not on the same device. You're going to be interconnecting two devices together. The transmit on this board would connect to the RX on another device, and vice versa. That transmit's going to connect to this RX.
Because that is the receive pin, and that's because that pin stays high by default, and it waits for some other device, like our UART adapter here, to bring that pin low in order to transmit. So it's by default high. And then we can go down the line. We can obviously see that the VCC pin here is going to also be 3 volts if I'm connected to it properly. Huh. Never mind. It's not. There's nothing on that line. That's okay because you don't really ever need that anyway. But
It's supposed to be a
again, we're going
power
one
line anyway.
step further today, everyone.
Like for most cases, if you're trying to plug in a device that doesn't have its own battery, then you would need the VC because it's a power line. It's just voltage transfer. So what he's gonna do is he has his own device. It's connected through a USB. It's getting power fed automatically. So he doesn't need a VC connection. All he needs is to be able to access the TX and RX pins and then ground it so that the connection completes on the other end. But he doesn't need a VC unless you get a. Ooh, what was that TPM module? This is a good point to bring up the TPM. This is a good example. This And this is a good awareness aspect too. There's something called a TPM module. It looks like this. It's super teeny tiny. It's got a lot of pins on there though. Now, for most cases, you probably won't see it on laptops, but you might start seeing it a lot on desktops. Oh, maybe they have one. Oh, okay. Yep. Laptops haven't built it directly in. So this one that we're seeing here is not a laptop one. This is specifically a desktop one. What? What? And it looks like this. So somewhere on this device, you probably have a lot of T and RX connections here, all for different purposes. But you're gonna have a VC on here because this is an unpowered device. There's no battery, there's no source of information or source of power for this random chip. What this serves as is basically a type of IMEI. If you know your cell phones, you know how what an IMEI does. It essentially gives your device a passport identification. Ooh, which is good and horrible, depending on the usage. It helps you store encryption keys, so your device is basically like more secure on the hardware level. But also, those keys and those certifications will make your device even more susceptible, well, to identification on the net. And when we look at identification happening all over the world now with like the UK and all these other places, they're trying to find ways to identify people online, whether it's going to be these telemetric data leaks and private data of your browser or some sort of identification on a device on your computer. Um, And it connects basically in the same format, right? This is gonna be, I want to see a motherboard connection to this. It's basically a little teeny tiny chip. It's so cute and tiny and so potentially dangerous. Yeah, there it is. And it connects directly to, no, what looks like to be, if you know your building, right? If you know your building, it's gonna look like a USB connection, but it's this. So one of these is going to be a VC and another one's going to be a ground, but the rest of them are going to be exchange transfer factors, right? Just TX and RX pair back and forth. And this would just be plugged in to a desktop motherboard. And that would let essentially you have this sort of certification module on your device in the hardware aspect. I don't know. For me, any sort of level of identification, you can basically, like as a regular user, it might be useful, sure, because you don't have to dive deep into the technicals of securing and certifying and creating your own custom certificates, encryptions, public keys, private keys. You don't have to do that as a regular user. You let your computer do this on the hardware level. But on another aspect, it's probably best to do it as a regular user because it's a lot more dynamic. You can constantly change things all the time whenever you need new secure factors. Hey, I need to communicate with you. We're gonna use this key. Here it is. I'm gonna send it to you encrypted with a password first, and then you can delete the file and use that certificate. We can communicate. Hey, also it expires. I made it expire in about a month or 3 or a year, whatever. And once that time comes, I'll give you a new one. And the case scenario is you have a um, more secure connection online because now all your communications back and forth are going to be encrypted. You can essentially do this manually as well. But this case is where the device will store those keys for you, which is also now a security point of entry for a hacker when he gets a hold of your computer in some digital hostage format or even physical. I mean, someone can just go over to your PC desktop at your office, pretend they're doing like this is literally a hacker's 1998 movie vibes. The technical guy comes in to fix your computer, but he takes out your TPM module, makes a real quick copy, and puts it back. And he's like, "Oh, everything is good, man. Bye." Like this is the kind of stuff. Like anything that's tied to hardware. I mean, even if you made it not removable, you would still be able to have like a UART based communication with that board, have the software communicate with the board. You can even plug it into the USB 1.0 right next to it. The not 1.0, it's a 9, 10, whatever, but you get the idea. You can, as long as you can connect physically to that device, You can essentially either wipe out, copy, or modify internal configuration. So having this as a hardware feature is a little bit extra sketch. Uh, that's all I'm going to say about that. Um, I think it's just a desperate way for security to be introduced into current modern technology that exists. Anyway, that's my spew there. So anyway, he opens this up. Right, we're going through it.
everyone, and we're
I got maybe another 45 minutes to really go
going
through
to
this.
assume that we're not quite sure what those signals are. What do we do? What do hardware hackers do? Well, we use a tool called a logic analyzer, and I'm super excited to share this tool with you. This has been kind of in a little bit closed, a little bit open beta. This is the Saley Logic MSO, and this is an oscilloscope and a logic analyzer all in one, and they've been just kind of being weirdly secretive about it. And they should definitely answer my email. Saley, if you're watching this, you should answer the email about us doing a deal.
I mean, what he's showing off is a device that does two things at once. You can get an oscilloscope and connect it to a computer and have your logic analyzer on your computer that takes in the oscilloscope signs, signals, and then converts it. But this is a specific device for that function, which probably is just a teeny tiny computer with both those functions, a hard drive with the um, logical analyzer attached to, like literally just attached to a oscillator squeeze into a teeny tiny box. So you can do this at like any device anyway. The only thing is you need a oscillator, oscillator. You need an oscillator to actually get that signal to be read. Or a device that can do it. I think I've read those. Yeah, I think I've read these on this. I think I read some signals on my flipper too. So it's nothing that my flipper couldn't do, to be honest.
You should do that. All right, let's get back to the workbench. All right, anyway, this is a super cool device, and I'm really excited to show it off because you can see here on the front, it's got 4 channels for an oscilloscope, and then it's got these USB-C interfaces, and each one of these 4 USB-C interfaces has 4 channels. So you can get a max of 16. I just have 8. That's usually enough for me. And today we'll only use one of these. But so here's our system that we want to test. Right? I'm gonna go ahead and power it off for the time being. I'm just gonna rotate this around. But our signals right over here that we want to look at, we want to connect up our logic analyzer to those. Now, normally we could solder some wires to those, but we are going to use these PC byte probes that I use a lot. These are spring-loaded probes that allow us to connect to things.
This thing is so cool. I never thought about this because one way or another, you got to connect to those wires, those pins that are not there because the Chinese manufacturer decided to pull them out with some heat and just a little bit of tension. And this thing acts like an actual connection directly.
Without soldering, which is really nice.
No
So the
soldering.
first thing we're going to do, and this is obviously a
You
little
plug
overkill,
in the
we're going
wire
to
right in
connect
the
up our
top
ground
there.
to one of our pogo pins.
And look how it just
And then
stays the way you put
I'm
it.
just going to put these on this side. I have a metal
Just
sheet underneath here that's magnetic.
so cool.
That's why those are sticking through the silicon mat.
I love this.
And then just to be consistent, I'm going to put channel 0 here on the first one.
I want that set up.
And on the second one, obviously we're only going to get one signal, but I just want to show you what this process would look like. Oftentimes, if I'm probing on a system like this, I'll have a bunch of these hooked up, or I'll be putting them on a couple pins, powering things on, turning it off, moving them to other pins in order to kind of enumerate all of the pins that we need to look at. So
I need a lab.
Let's see how good of a shot we can get here. Oh, we have to let it focus.
I need a huge.
Okay, actually,
not huge. I need a lab.
Freeze the focus right there, that depth. There we go. All right, I might be putting my head in the way here, guys. Sorry. All right, there we go.
That's it.
And so now we're on like pin 1 and pin 2 with those 2 probes there.
So the problem is you can't disconnect those two, right? If you're trying to do this manually, trying to hold them up for so long, you got human shakes, you have all these kind of things that can get in the way. And there's an issue there. There's an issue of like disconnecting by accident, having to reset transfer, missing data. You moving even so slightly could just kind of mess up the communication factor involved. But that's amazing. You just place it where you want, do the scans and the tests. If it doesn't work, you move the stuff around without having to resolder something, without risking basically any. I can maybe make something like this, to be honest. Do I have a wire like that? I think I could make something like this manually. Oh, dude. Dude. Paper clips. Paper clips, magnets. I think I can make something like this. The getaway, the homemade version.
So you can
Anyway,
see our whole setup. So logic analyzer has USB and power going to my computer, and then we've got our digital probe right here. So let's go ahead and open up the software. So this is, if you've used a Saley logic analyzer in the past, it's the same piece of software. And so it's detected my logic MSO device. And what's cool here, that's a little bit different, is we have two different kinds of channels. So we have the oscilloscope channels here, which we're not going to use today. But the cool thing you'll see there is that next to each oscilloscope channel, this is just for people who might be interested in this device, there's a derived digital channel, which means you can use all your normal logic analyzer analyzers on the oscilloscope channel, which is kind of cool. And then over here, this is what we're going to use. We're going to activate in port 1, so it's detected that we have that USB cord connected into port 1 here. So we're going to activate just the first two channels, and we're going to say that the logic level
RX
is
and
3.9 volts.
TX.
That's always why it's good to check that with the multimeter beforehand. And so we're going to select that stuff, and then we're going to hit record settings. We're just going to have it be like a pre-run mode. We don't need to do like a trigger or anything, because we just want to see what is going on. Okay, so right now, I'm pretty sure one of those pins is like floating because the device is not powered on. I think that's what's going on here. Let's find out. Let's power the device on. Yeah, that one is like still floating. All right, it is connected. But what we're more interested in is this one here, this second channel that
The receive.
started transmitting after, started doing something interesting after the device powered up. Nope, just kidding. No, there's something wrong here. That's fun.
Connect the USB, right?
Make sure we're all good to go over here.
Do it right, Mr.
It's
Matt.
really that transmit one that I need to be sure that I'm on. Oh. Didn't have ground connected. That'll do it.
Oh, see,
All right,
ground.
so
Okay,
here we go.
there you go.
Power cycle. Should see those go up. And then,
There
yeah,
we
so
go.
here we can see, we definitely know which one is transmit, right? Here the channel 1, or channel 1.1 here, and is our transmit. That's the device's transmit, and the other one is the receive. So when we connect up our UART adapter, we know which one we need to connect up to. Again, they're labeled, we know this, but this is just interesting. Okay, so now we're getting some digital signals here in our logic analyzer. So let's go ahead and squeeze this, because we only care about this one. And let's
This is
zoom
what we're
in
reading
on
from the
this
device
digital
now.
signal here. So the cool thing here is there's this little tool, and you'll kind of see it right here above my head, that when I kind of go over different parts of the signal, and I want to find one that's like a small chunk right here. There we can see that it says that the width, again, right here, the width is 115.38 kilohertz. If you're familiar with common baud rates, that sounds a lot like 115.200, which is a really common baud rate. So the cool thing is here in the logic software, we can now add an analyzer here, and we can say async serial, and we're going to select our channel, which is channel 1, and then we set our baud rate. Again, this is the common baud rate. We can see that width that it found is pretty close to that. And then we're going to leave all these other settings as the default, and then if we needed to change them, we could, to kind of test hypotheses of if there were any non-standard UART characteristics going on here. But there is not. And now, if let's just set this aside for a minute, now we can see that it is properly decoding, and it's decoding these ASCII bytes here. And we can see that this is decoding correctly because we have words here. We have the word recover, recovered equals 0, right? Like, it's not a bunch of gibberish. And oftentimes, here, let me show you what happens if you like get the rate wrong.
So cool.
You'll see a bunch of errors.
So
like,
now
let's
we're
just say
reading
it's something like higher than it is.
This is
right?
what it's going to
You'll
look
get
like
this.
if
You'll
it's
see all
a
these
bad
framing error
setup.
messages because it's understanding of where the message should start and stop is not making sense given the context of the signal. So let's put that back to the correct baud rate of 115.200. And there we go. And the cool thing here is there's this like table mode, or you can just have like the terminal view, and you can see that this is obviously a Linux boot up situation here. And if we go all the way down, what do we get? What do we get? Okay, we don't see it yet, but we will see something very interesting. Oh yeah, I stopped it halfway through, so that's fine. All right, so now we know that this is a UART signal. We know which pin is the transmit and the receive. We already knew it, but now we know the baud rate. We know all the details about this UART system to connect it up. So let's go back over to our workbench here, and we're going to have this logic analyzer step aside. I'm going to power off the device just to be safe and all. And now, in that same place, we're going to connect up this guy right here, okay? So this is the TiGuard board. This does a lot of different kind of signals sending to devices, but we're just going to use the UART today. And then over here, there's a level shifter where you can set it from 5 volts, 3.3, 1.8, or target voltage, and we're going to set it on 3.3. So we're going to put ground. Let's go back. So what I'm going to do is basically wire these up. I'm going to have to get these back on target again, so I can just take them off. Ground. I usually wire up orange to my transmit, and this to the receive. So orange is transmit for this guy, for my computer side, so I need to transmit to the receive signal on here. So we're going to line them up just like this.
Get it. Transmit, receive.
Again, so you kind of see where
transmit,
and I need to make
receive.
sure to just kind of rest this over here.
I transmit
ground,
words,
so
you
other
receive with your
pin.
ears.
Just
Get
kind of
it?
rest over the
Get it?
That'll give me a good ground connection.
Unless you're putting your hand up to the speaker and you can feel the words I'm saying, you know.
There we go. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nice hair.
Sorry about that, guys. There it is. We are connected
Look
up.
at the hair follicles.
And now,
No lice. And what was the other one? No dandruff. Good job, bud.
With any luck, we will be able to interact with that. So that tie guard shows up as a USB
Nice and
device,
clean.
as
Good
dev
time.
TTY USB 0. But we need to set the baud rate, and that is 115 at 200 as we determined.
And
So
now
we
you
go ahead
connect to it
and
directly.
hit enter, and we're gonna go and power up our device again.
This is so cool.
So there we go. Okay, so we know that we can get the transmit from the board to our receive. We know that's all hooked up correctly. I'm just gonna let the device
This
boot
is
up.
literally
So
what you would see
obviously,
on a
as a hardware
regular
hacker,
boot up
all of
system.
this log data is just such valuable. It's a valuable resource
Yeah.
as we try to understand how the system works.
Okay, so this is all I wanted to show up to this point, right? This is basically how we got to a point now, which we're gonna go next on. Also, let me just make sure that I'm not missing any student sessions right now. Hold on, hold on, hold on, 1 second. Un momento, por favor. Okay, yeah, have another hour, 45 minutes before I go do student stuff. All right, so this is basically how we have access to the device, which is amazing. I need that device. I need a setup like that. Need to figure out something malleable that'll stick to its places and can be used to interconnect two things together. I figured that I do a lot of knitting, sewing. Maybe I can use some needles as transmitting factors, and then some. Hmm. Anyway, so the next video that we're really gonna dive into, and I'm gonna do this with side by side on terminal, because at this point we see how we got there, right? You saw the process. This is exactly what we're looking for. He's in. He's in the Gibson. He's in the Gibson. All right. He's in the Gibson. He's in the Gibby zone. The Gibby zone. Now, the next step is to analyze what's inside, which he then uses. Where to go? Terminal there. Oh, also, where's my AI? Huh. Say hey. Ooh. Say hey. Oh, all caps. Say hello to stream, buddy. Uh, hello, stream buddy. Oh, that's way too literal, bud. It's not working as an AI. It's a little bit of special. Brave. There it is. Then we go into the full out details. I don't really need this right over here. Ooh-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. That's my AI interface. Uh, give me some details on the UART standards for a RX and TX connection. There's some details for you guys in chats. Now we're going to see exactly the details behind that device. Ah, Brown, Matt, that was loud, my man. Holy guaca. Nice face, by the way. Holy crap. Hold on, hold on. Hold you horses. Hold them horses. Do please hold on to them horses so they don't keep running around. Hold them horses. Oh, no, there we go. It's still going. My AI is still going. He's giving you all the details. Nice. I love AI. AI is great. If it's under your control. AI is indeed right. Now we switch focus to Mr. Matt Brown. Brown? Oh no, did I mess it up? I will literally say a person's name correct 3 times in a row, and then the fourth time say it wrong. Yes, it's Brown. All right. Better? There we go. Superbox. Let us see. Yes. Hold on. Too big, right? That's a fair point. That's a good point. Because you're going to be streaming too. You don't want your own IP address to be visible, right? I need it to be bigger. There we go. So it wasn't until. All right, your face is fine, buddy. It's checking IP. That's not how that works, but yeah, okay. Nope. Nope. Yeah, it does. Does not look super legit. Okay, first let's see where it's downloading from. 172.67197. Well, I'm gonna check out first some geolocate data. 172.67.197. Now, most of the things he saw here. Number, please. The hell? 172. There we go. 0.67. No. What are you doing? 6, 7. God, I said that out loud, huh? 197 point. Just those. So that is San Francisco. Nothing crazy there. That must be a DNS redirect from his location because he said he was using a VPN from a Los Angeles location. What about the 104? 104.21.21.102. That is also within a San Francisco location, so nothing crazy there. 111 is just your typical DNS. Oh, dang, some of those are missing though. Oh, I don't see the full piece there. Huh. Yeah, oh, wait. Oh, what's that one? So I'm basically just trying to find out, and this is how I'm doing it, right? You can do it multiple ways, but you can do like a who is, or you can use websites like geolocation. In this case, I'm gonna try that 5.15235.235.83.22. The one that's right here. Right here. Yeah. That's Montreal. Are we in Canada right now? We in Canada. Dang, we went from San Francisco to Canada real quick. Huh. That's interesting. Not suspicious, just interesting. Uh-oh. Careful, the internet's dangerous. Dangerous. This is where it gets interesting. Is that still the 8.3? The 8.3? The 8.322. 8.322 is popping up a lot, so it is having a direct connection to Montreal right now. 192.168.124 source. That's an internal source leaving. So this is just showing a dual connection communication between destination and source between 15.235, which is Quebec, and the 192.168, which is his local machine. Sky TV PNG, it's just downloading a PNG, backup TV.png. It's just downloading files for the application or for whatever page is being loaded. Got some hardware addresses. Nothing too crazy. Nothing too interesting yet. I mean, it's weird that it's connecting from Canada. 111, 111, standard DNS, Bugly. Oh, wait. Go back to Bugly. You were saying Bugly. Before you were saying Bugly is some sort of Android internal debugging system? Hold on. Hold on. Why is it pinging to Bugly? Isn't that a Chinese thing? Android bugly.qq. Let's do a trace route to android.bugly.qq.com. Hmm, nothing interesting. We ping that then. This regular ping should be fine too. I mean, because I did get to it. It didn't give me any break. That's 1422. It's pretty big. I mean, this has got to be a Chinese IP address because it's at 208 milliseconds. And that's quite the space. Ha! Hello, China. How are you today doing over there, China? Welcome. How are you? Yes. Wow, interesting. So that's a fun IP address to save. Ugly, huh? Uh, let's ask the AI real quick. I was saying earlier that Bugly was this sort of debugging system for Android. What is Bugly bug? Bug? Yeah, bugly.qq.com, and how does it relate to Android? Bugato in some regions, the third-party crash reporting and analytics platform for Android and iOS developed by Tencent. It helps developers identify, reproduce, and fix crashes. By integrating Bugly into an Android app, developers can collect crash logs, operating system versions. Ooh, this information is displayed on the dashboard, allowing developers to analyze. Bugly provides a variety of tools and features of crash reporting and analytics. So this is basically just telemetry for bug collection. This is the server in which this would access for bug collection. Third-party service that helps Android app developers improve their app by identifying, fixing crashes and issues more effectively. So if we provide enough trust that this is a legit company that does crash collection of data to improve stuff, then okay, it's trusted and we can assume that they're trying to make the application better. However, if we understand that crashes are basically exploits on a system, it can happen accidentally, and you're collecting specific crash information from devices, Android devices, you can, one, use that information to fix your device. Two, you can use that information to activate that exploit if it needs to happen again for whatever reason, especially if it's a specific exploit that might trigger certain events on your device to maybe open up a reverse shell. So that's an interesting thing to have. There's a bit of I'm I'm sus. I'm sus on this guy. I'm sussy on this guy. This IP address is a little weird to my liking, given that There's a lot of trust that has to happen between these two case scenarios, these two West versus East trust that's kind of breaking over time lately. So I don't know if I trust this, and if this is it's not a special case for an exploit. That's the problem too. It's not a special case for an exploit. It's a center for every single Huawei device, every single device that would be using Android to call back home to report a bug that may be happening within that device. So again, if we consider that this is a legitimate, trustworthy group of developers that are only taking in these bug reports to fix them so they don't happen again in the future, okay, cool, improve your product. However, if we understand that bugs can be exploited, and if you collect bugs from devices that have exploits, and not all bugs are gonna be exploits, but some specific bugs that happen under certain situations, that's why you collect the whole report. You collect the system analytics on what was broken, what level of that, uh, what the how low of a level did that bug affect your software, firmware, hardware, and you have all these pieces of logs that get brought back to the center point. That's interesting. And then from there, you can hopefully use that for the right reason and actually like fix your product. Or that was a fun one. You missed it, bro. Maybe, maybe not. Like, yeah, you maybe have some like hidden, but see, they wouldn't even be hidden. They would be port forwarded. So if we trust that they are doing the right thing, Bugly, cool, right? They're the ones taking in that information. But if we don't trust them because there's obvious incentive for the Chinese to steal information, they've been doing this with military plane schematics, with AI systems. There's plenty of cases in the past 4 or 5 years that there's been Chinese insurgents coming in and taking information from the US corporations, military everywhere, and exporting it to China so they can make their own version. I mean, even DeepSeek itself is just a distilled model from existing models. They took ChatGPT, they took all the models that they had and then just taught a new model how to do those things. So even DeepSeek, the AI model, is technically a copy of all the other models that exist or a copy of US technology. So what is it? There's a saying in China or something about copying others. I forget what it is. Let me see. Let's see what my AI knows. Is there a saying in China about copying others? Work? Chinese culture, there are various sayings and phrases relating to imitation or copying others' work. One of the most well-known, oh wow. 别习不如习习上 translates to learning from others is not as good as creating from yourself. Okay, fair. Fair. That's a good one. Unique ideas and creations. Another related phrase is something wings. Say yeah, it's great. Translates to learn and not put knowledge into practice is really a waste. To practice and not to think is useless. Without thinking, there shall be no improvement. They're saying reflection, culture, value of self-improvement, personal to growth. Fair. All right. I heard some other people say that there's some sort of like value. Maybe there's a lot of quotes, and then the specific ones of the moment are the ones that are more prominent. So I've heard something about copying others, uh, if it's possible for survival and stuff like this. Anyway, we just know that there is this huge sense of copying back and forth. Mm, anyway, I'm overthinking this. I'm overspending time on this. I'm gonna do another 10 minutes of this and I'm gonna end it. Gotta get ready for my student. That's something I wanted to do too. It's right here. We're looking at Bugly. It's right here. Right here. All right here. One of these. I don't know. I can't read Chinese. Right here. Some of these. This is what I wanted to check right here. So this is an interesting one I'm probably going to save to my computer for further research. Is some and then the other ones that we just got now are ping, HTTP, not even S. It's not even secured. What? 32558.cc? So he accesses it through his. APK? Yep. Hmm. See, it's a weird one because this one actually has Google and the pre-domain namespace. That's something sketchy at all. So, I mean, if I was to do, let's say, this doesn't access it, but what if it gets like a wget request and it takes it? Unless, of course, it's totally randomized. That number acts as a randomized value. So this 32558 is maybe this today, but is something else tomorrow. If I was to download this apk grabber.apk, it's actually downloading it. Like that is a thing. There's your IP address. There's your IP address. Interesting. Found you. Okay, so it did actually grab the APK first and foremost, which is sketch. I now have a weird let me make a sus folder real quick. I'm gonna move this APK thing into the sus folder real quick. What? No. Move. Oh, MV, sorry. Move MV APK into sus, please. ls sus. Now you're in sus. All right, so that at least that's weird. It doesn't find it on the IP or on the general ping. I can't ping it directly, but if I request, and this is from Canada. This we've been here before. So this is a set of places that I want to check out. PuffNTB applife.pro. So look at me actually downloading what he's seeing. wget. Let me actually I'm gonna move to the sus folder. Everything I'm about to wget should be scanned thoroughly. HTTP, I'm gonna look through all the files that I'm getting. 32558.cc. Is CC a Canada domain? CC? Folder.apk? Interesting. So then what if I do Puffin? Oh, AppLife Pro? That's another one. That's another one. HTTP google.uplife.pro./app/ Puffin TV 9.3. I don't know the version, so I'm just going to the one given right there. Literally downloading every single thing he's downloading. That's crazy. If I go back into sus and then I cd into folder.apk, or I can just tar extract folder.apk. There's a way to extract this. Hold on. Okay. This is APK grabber, Kotlin resources. So I can basically look around inside public suffixes. I'm gonna try and grab as many of these. It's gonna basically be the same content, right? It's gonna be the same concept. This was where I really wanted to end at because this is showing that whatever these applications I'm downloading is coming from that particular box. I'm probably gonna download as many of them as I can and then scan them for any viruses or make my own Android virtual environment to run them and also basically do the same thing he's doing, but from another location. So that I'm just going to be scanning through this video now. That's it. I'm just going to be scanning, getting those files that we see here over and over. Not going to be interesting from this way forward, but we are seeing that there is some contact to China. Uh, Granted, it's this bugly place, but still, like, if you're a programmer, you know what a bug does, right? A bug breaks stuff. Or it can be a feature that you didn't expect it to have. But normally a bug normally doesn't let you go forward to the rest of your program or just gives you issues. So if you have access to bug data where something maybe crashed and send you a bug report, now you know why it crashed, how to activate that crash, and then you have to, one, be a positive force in the technical world and improve on that and fix it, patch it, patch the bug. Or if you have malicious intent, you're going to use that bug in an arsenal of bugs that you will collect over time and then use them to your advantage when the time comes. So that's fun. Be careful. Don't buy anything cheap that promises free stuff because it's not going to be free, whether it is for you yourself. It could be problematic in some way or another with the law and or with bigger world affecting national security issues. Not that I can influence enough people on this planet or in the United States to be careful and not buy stuff from China because they're trying to hack the crap out of the United States. I'm just a guy with 300 followers. But at least those that are watching, be careful. Probably don't buy stuff from China. I wouldn't, again, I haven't bought stuff from China for the last like 300, 300 days. 300 subscribers, 300 days, 3 years is what I meant to say, 3 or 4 years before I actually bought anything. And if I buy anything, it's like a USB or a cable or a headset, something basic, something that doesn't have a brain and a chip in it, because I don't trust someone else building a chip inside of the device I'm using. And now everything's smart. Even a refrigerator's got damn screens on them and got a brain inside. I don't like none of that. So if you're a Gen Zer, I think you're on the right track. If you're one of those that are going back to DVDs and the simple ways of life, I think you got the idea. It's way too complex. All the adults are going in this weird direction of we gotta we gotta expand AI, we gotta have dominance in the world, and doesn't matter if we break things like Mark Zuckerberg said, move fast and break things. Yeah, well, they're about to fucking break the whole fucking economy, networking, privacy, everything can break. I mean, the last 4 years, the amount of data that's been leaked on the internet, I just imagine that no US citizen has their data private anymore because there's even public records that are hacked, right? So Matt Brown doesn't quite find anything yet. Link in the description to watch the whole video or go to see places or things you haven't seen from my stream. I really just wanted to take his pieces here that he was looking through and follow up on specific networking processes. And I see that I find a lot of interesting APKs, if you will, and I'm going to be testing around and playing with them to see if they're legit. If any of they have TeamViewer? Is it downloading TeamViewer by default? Is that sketchy? That means somebody else can legitimately control the device. Hmm. Hmm. Very weird. So I'm gonna have to play around with these, open them up. It's gonna take some time. If I find anything interesting, I'll go ahead and like stream based on this. Just takes a lot of time to actually like take apart software. And I gotta build an environment for this too. I gotta make a virtual machine with an Android system attached to it. Just fine. That's not a big issue. Just gotta figure out how to debug the rest of it. Have to connect it to the ADB module on the virtual machine so I can debug it or I can do it locally. It's a lot of things I got to think about. So anyway, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks for joining. If you made it to the far of the video, much appreciated for the support. And I hope I taught you something today, how to navigate the internet. Always do so with a VPN. Do not share your own IP address with anybody. And make sure you're behind a VPN network. That's it. That's it. Anywhere that you can possibly hide on the net is the best place to be. Don't ever expose any of your data. Don't buy anything from China. And if you do, at least buy stuff that doesn't have a chip inside or an operating system that may be compromised, that might also be a zombie for Chinese backdoors into the US network. So I hope you enjoyed this video, but there is definitely something somewhere within these boxes that I think over time we'll be able to find. I'm gonna be keeping track with Matt Brown here. He's been doing great freaking job. I want his setup. So good, so good, so good. I want to make some setup like this so I can basically use that same process. Um, but it takes money, takes time. And if you want to see more on this, please like and subscribe. If you're not even subscribed, what are you doing? Subscribe right now, man. Right now, click the subscribe and like the video because it helps me out. It helps me grow, helps me keep teaching online, helps me spread my super scholar gospel to keep learning one thing every single day and training your brain to be better every day, better than the last. For me personally, I don't feel fulfilled if I don't learn something every single day. I just feel empty inside. So make sure you learn something every day. And I hope I can do that for you today with some networking and some interesting hardware stuff. And do follow, subscribe, and tune in. Hit the bell. If you want to learn something every single day, basically hit the bell because that's what I do. I teach random stuff every day. One day we're doing math. Another day we're doing networking. Another day we're doing Python. Another day we're doing question mark. I don't know. We'll see. You'll see. You'll see when you press that notification button, the little bell in the subscription when it goes ding ding ding. You know something's about to enter your download space. I'm about to upload some information. Whatever. Anyway, thank you. Bye. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. Oh, also thank you guys for the 300 subscribes. Much appreciate. Much appreciate. I hope to grow more. It's a great start. I mean, I've had this channel for like since 2010, but I never really took care of it, right? I kind of like dipped out for 10 years and I'm back and I'm trying to like see what I can do with this and hopefully teach people on the way to that successful YouTube streamer possibilities. I don't know. But anyway, I got students to go tend to. If you want to do join any of my student rosters, check out my Patreon. It's in the description below. Thank you for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day. And remember, keep learning something, one thing a day. And yeah, make sure you Better yourself one step at a time. Don't rush. Don't rush. Take your time, but do make it a habit to learn something every single